Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of our Level Up Your Creator Business series. Apologies, it's been a while since this series has had an episode, but we're back at it today with another round of golf, and we're going to be talking about managing irregular income as a creator, where things are up and down in kind of this whole business that you got. One month could be booming, 1 month quiet. What we've seen is periods of the year that are better and periods of the year that are lower in cash flow. Yeah, come join us on the golf course and let's have some fun and play and chat about how to keep things smooth throughout the year when it comes to income. Let's go. All right, let's get into it. Yeah, that bunker.
All right, we'll take that.
All right.
Okay, about
I need you
235
to
yards left.
quiet down, sir. Forgot to turn those settings down. Oops. Need that. But yeah, like I mentioned in our intro there, we're talking about kind of the irregular patterns that we see a lot of our clients face and what we do to help folks navigate those waters. Income isn't steady, 1 month. We may have some brand deals and YouTube might pop off in the same month, but then the next month is nothing in the brand deal side, or YouTube is dried up or gone through its quarterly dips or whatever. So yeah, we'll talk about some strategies to deal with that and keep it a little smoother throughout the year. Because it can be stressful if you treat those bigger months just like normal months when they might be one-offs, if you will, or happen like seasonally. And we see that a lot of times with our folks that are mainly on the YouTube side, where Q4 tends to be where the ad rates are the best. And it won't be uncommon that we'll have clients making 6 figures in that month and then go into Q1, which is historically some of the lowest earning times of the year, and they'll be down half or more of what they made in November, December. So yeah, it's just definitely something to keep an eye on to make sure you plan for that accordingly. Not too bad. A lot of slope to this hole. Not too shabby. So something to start this journey off. Maybe you want to base your spending each month or what you take out of the business based on what is consistent and what your averages are throughout the year. Your lowest consistent month. So like, say if January you're netting 10,000, and like November, December, it's 4 times that. You want to bank on having the 10K every month versus having the 40, because then it's just nice when you've got that bonus when those do pop off. And then when it happens that you have a lower month, or maybe a lower month happens unexpectedly, you're not so far off with the expenses being locked in at a fixed point, and then the revenue doesn't flex with it, and it becomes challenging to kind of meet certain costs or like personal expenses that month. So we want to try to minimize stress for our clients in that way. Yeah, where like extras just become that bonus, not necessarily like normal or essential money that you're planning on. And it's like in golf, right? Like, I don't know how many of you are golfers out there, but sometimes the best shot isn't going directly for the hole if the pin is in a bit of a tight location, a little bit of a sucker pin. You don't always aim for that. It's make the safer play to aim at 10 or 15 feet, right? And give yourself a safe play to make a good score versus trying to get it close and then you add like 3 or 4 shots just because you didn't quite play it safe. And now, speaking of that, yep, there you go. I think I just clicked that one. But I have had one client who, oh, this is just gonna go right into that wall, isn't it? I don't know. Who he's had some steady revenue from his Patreon platform, and then he decided to pursue some other platforms that were paying well, but then required a lot of his time, and he ended up pausing his Patreon, and which was his biggest earner, and that dropped to 0. But then he knew he had the income from other sources, and it freed up some of his time to work on that stuff, and that wouldn't have been possible if he hadn't been managing the money in the times where it was flowing in really well from Patreon and not overspending and just taking care of his needs and the business's needs in a smart way. And so then he was able to take on those extra adventures just because he had done well and had a bit of a savings. So even if he lost money for a few months in a row, it wasn't breaking him at all, and he was still able to meet the expectation of all the business expenses that he had and his personal stuff as well. One thing to keep in mind too, like, yeah, oh man, that was terrible off the green. 1 second. Let's see if we can. The first hole went so well. This is like just. This is comical. Stay ball. Stay. Thank you. There we go. But yeah, is to kind of consider taxes as well. If you're working with a tax person, hopefully you've got a good strategist that you're working with. If not, we can chat about that. If you're not, and maybe not feel like you're at that point, but I think you would be. I don't know. No matter where you are, it's always good to have a strategy, but consider setting a certain amount aside every time you get a payment in. 25 to 30% is chunky, but then you're definitely in a good spot. If you're working with a tax pro who can help you plan, you can get regular amounts set aside every month and then make the payments every quarter, and hopefully get it to where at the end of the year you've got a tax bill that's non-existent or already paid for. And then that way you can enjoy a little more of it throughout the year versus having to have a big surprise bill towards the end of the year. Just keeping in mind savings as well. You don't necessarily need a reason to save. You're just going to start setting aside for other projects. Like if you wanted to grow your equipment or an emergency fund or future investments, but then also you just don't know what's going to happen in life or what life's going to throw your way. So it'd also be good to set a portion aside just to kind of help for life's unexpected stuff. And once you start getting a good amount of cash flow through this business sort of thing, it's definitely something to consider, just because this is great and it's awesome that you can do this sort of thing, but you never know how long it's going to last, and you never know what life's going to throw your way. And we've had, unfortunately, with the clients who we kind of work with on a one-off basis or are new to us, where we are unfortunately having to say, hey, you owe a whole lot of money and we wish we could have helped you throughout the year, but this is where we are. And at that point, it becomes really tricky to save money, because it's a lot easier to do stuff before the year ends than to do it in April. Or even now, we've got a few extension clients who are in that boat, and so they've got these bigger tax bills we've got to work out how we're going to sort out. And it would be nice if they had come a little earlier, we figured that out a little quicker. That's kind of where we are, and we've got to help them through that, and we will. But yeah, it does minimize that stress as well, because then throughout the year, and where you are with taxes, and by the end of the year, that you've paid everything in or mostly in, or maybe you get a refund. But yeah. One thing you've always got to keep an eye on is what they call your runway, what's going in versus, or what's coming in and what's going out. You could use things like spreadsheets, or if you've got some other financial tools that kind of help in that space. That's something like QuickBooks or Xero or any sort of accounting type software can help you keep an eye on the flow of money. Liken it back to that client who did the Patreon pause, where he was smart about saving the money when it was a good month, keeping that aside, so that he could explore those extra projects. That kind of knowing what you're working with and having an idea of what's coming in and what's going out on a month-over-month basis will really help you have peace of mind and sleep at night knowing that you're good for whatever sort of expense comes your way regularly and maybe unexpectedly. And ultimately, consistency is the winner, what we're striving for. It'll beat hot streaks and that sort of stuff, because it frees up you to reinvest if you want to reinvest in the business, or put some money into some personal investments, or you want to hire help within the business, upgrade your gear. Knowing where you are on a regular basis and what's coming in and out will help you kind of be more successful in the long term. Just because it's irregular doesn't mean it's unstable or wild and crazy. It's something to plan for. And once you get a handle on what your rhythms are like, if you plan around that, then it's definitely very doable to be very successful. It's like kind of doing another golf analogy here. A steady round, being consistent, beats lucky shots, and trying to thread a needle and punching out in the fairway might be a better call. if you're able to keep things consistent and play smart in that sense, you'll do better consistently over time. Thanks for joining me for 9 holes there today. But yeah, just to recap what we talked about with the irregular kind of income as a creator, we want to budget low, make sure we're taking care of taxes and savings, and plan for the cash flow. And that's one way to help level up your creator business. We'll see you in the next episode. Also, if this provided some value to you in any way, appreciate a like and maybe subscribe, and catch us for the next episode. Take care. Peace.